Welcome, everyone, to the 8th episode of You're Still Doing That, or should I say, You're Still Teaching There, with Michael Wilkins today. Mike, or Mr. Wilkins, as most everybody calls you, he was my high school band director. Then he became a mentor to me when I became a high school band director at Southern Lee. Mr. Wilkins has been a staple here at Lee County High School and a supportive figure to well over 1,000 students by now, right? It's got to be over 1,000, right?
Sure.
Yeah, kind of quite a lot. Mike, or as most people know you, Mr. Wilkins, I might flip back and forth on that title. How many years have you been teaching in total?
In total, I've been teaching 38 years.
38 years. How many here at Lee County High School?
At Lee County High School, I've been teaching 34 years. My first 4 years were at East Lee Junior High, and then I came over here to Lee County High School full-time.
Yep, and I believe I was a freshman in Mike's first year here at Lee County High School when he first took over. We'll get into that and see if he has any stories about me that I don't know. All right, Mike, what was the very first instrument you learned to play?
Well, as a kid, I became interested in the band and wanted to play trumpet.
Right, that's how I started, too.
So I became a trumpet player in the junior high band at my junior high school, which was Cool Springs Junior High School in Forest City, North Carolina. And I played trumpet there before going into the high school band at East Rutherford my 9th grade year.
East Rutherford, we've gone to their competitions a few times too. They're still kicking and going strong over there. So you played trumpet in band all through high school?
No, I played trumpet in junior high school, and then my 9th grade year, 10th grade year in the fall, I played trumpet, and then my director decided to switch me over to French horn. You're familiar with that also.
Yes, I got switched as well.
And so I played French horn and concert band and mellophone and marching band the remaining time of high school. And I also played piano.
Right. And there's another similarity, as did I.
Yeah, and I started piano kind of late. I was actually already in the 8th grade when I started piano. And my teacher back home, because I was a male, she really liked the guys that, took piano. She felt like she could get a lot out of them musically. So she accepted me, although she had a full studio already. And so that was my story with piano. I continued piano through high school. And then eventually when I went to college at Appalachian, I was a piano major.
Wow. So starting late kind of paid off after a while. Mm-hmm. Why did your director switch you to French horn?
I asked myself that question then, and I'm thinking back now, I still wonder why. But as you know, horn is not the most easy instrument to play. You have to have a good ear. You have to hear things well, and I think he recognized that in me, and probably was the main reason he switched me. We already had a couple of horn players, but they were older than me at the time, so makes sense.
I got switched because I got braces in junior high, and then I couldn't play trumpet a lick. And then they said, why don't you try French horn?
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of middle school horror stories on French horn, but I won't go into that here. What was your high school band director's name?
My junior high and high school band director was William Jacobus. He was known as W.W. Jacobus.
I like it.
And he was well known in the area. He was known for bringing marching band, the corps-style marching band, to part of North Carolina.
Gotcha.
Along with Bob Buckner, who was at Western Carolina.
Yeah, I remember. I spent 1 year at Western Carolina. I remember Bob Buckner.
Yeah, and so Mr. Jacobus was well known for marching band and concert band as well. So he brought marching band into my life, and I fell in love with it. After my sophomore year, he retired, and I had another director, Clyde Ferguson, my last 2 years of high school, who encouraged me to continue with music, and eventually that is what I did.
Did your high school compete in competitions? Did they have that in those days?
We did. Not as many competitions as there are today.
Right.
But I remember we would always go. One big festival we went to was Abbeville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it was a prelim finals type contest.
Right.
And so that was always one of the biggest ones we went to. But I remember going other places, like we came down to Elon University, places like that for contests. In the Asheboro area, I remember coming all the way down. And we also traveled to Virginia and did some shows up there.
You guys went all over then.
Yeah, we did. Our band program, we were fortunate. We owned our own buses.
Wow.
Yeah. They had been at one time charter buses.
Right.
But they had been redone, and they were painted our school colors, and each of them had a name.
Wow.
Yeah. It was big time back then.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What size was the band?
The band was not very large. I would say we were 60, 70 maybe.
So a couple buses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple buses. We had 2 buses, filled up 2 buses. We also went to Florida several of the years I was in the high school band. We marched in the DeSoto Festival, DeSoto Parade in St. Petersburg area, and did the Disney thing. It was the first time I went to Disney.
With the band?
It was Disney World, and at the time, Epcot had just opened.
Wow.
So, and that was all that was there
at
the time. So that was my very first time traveling with the band that I was in. I also got to go to Washington, D.C. We went to New York City my freshman year. We marched.
They did go everywhere, didn't they?
We marched in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I remember that every year, March 17th.
Yeah, you guys sounded like you were very good, and your director was really aggressive about getting you guys out there.
We were well known in the Carolinas. We were actually, our mascot was Cavalier. We were the East Rutherford High School Cavaliers, and someone in the Florida area gave us the nickname of the Marching Cavaliers, Carolina Cavaliers.
Gotcha.
So
why didn't I come up with that? South Carolina Cavaliers.
Our theme song was Sweet Caroline, Carolina in the Morning. We always played those 2 in parades, and people knew us by that.
Right. Wow. That sounds great. All right, Mike, what college did you go to after high school?
Well, after high school, I wasn't sure right away that I was going to do music, so I attended the local community college for a year, Isothermal Community College there in Forest City area, and then I decided to go into music. Felt like I needed a little extra time too, preparing for my entrance into the music program at Appalachian. I had decided that's where I eventually wanted to go. So I did. I got accepted to Appalachian. Then I auditioned, got into the music program as a piano major, but with a focus on instrumental because I was also a horn player.
Right.
So that was the route I took.
Now, as a piano major, I bet you were very popular because every instrumental player needs an accompanist.
Needs an accompanist. Everyone's looking for an accompanist.
Did you do some of that?
Did some of that. Did a little bit of everything, it seems like.
Yeah. What'd you play at Appalachian besides piano? And I'm assuming French horn?
Yeah, piano, French horn. I was in the symphonic band, marching band. French horn at the time. Joe Phelps was our director.
Yeah. Joe was there when I was at App.
So was he still marching director then?
No. He just did trumpet studio. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was the director when I was there, and I was in the band. But then I became color guard instructor for him. I also have that background.
Now I do want to back up a minute. So did you do color guard work in high school?
No, I started messing around with it, just learning things. And our color guard was very well known also. We had at the time, a national champion rifle squad.
Nice.
Like Winter Guard today is, well, this was different back in the 70s. And it was a rifle squad made up of 5 young ladies and then one on saber, and she was the captain. And they did a drill on the gym floor, just like you see Winter Guard today. So, it was exciting. They were really awesome.
Yep.
So I just had an interest in that and started picking up things.
Gotcha. Well, you must have picked it up well enough to be an instructor at ASU.
Well, and then I also got a job in the summer teaching camps, color guard camps.
Yeah.
My first band director, Mr. Jacobus, he also ran a camp. We traveled across the southeast and up into Indiana, So we traveled a lot. So I taught all summer through my second or third year of college, actually.
Wow.
I started, believe it or not, at the end of my junior year of high school. I was hired as an assistant to help coach or teach rifle technique.
Right.
So I worked with someone, I was as their assistant, and traveled quite a bit that summer. But then the next summer I became full-time, and through senior year, after senior year, and through 3 years of college, I toured with the company.
Oh, wow. Well, you definitely were getting your marching band education
A lot
thoroughly.
of experience.
Yeah. What year did you graduate from ASU?
Let's see. I finished my bachelor's in '84, and I continued on the fall of '84 working on my master's. Started my master's and finished my master's up in the summer of '85.
Gotcha.
So my last semester at undergrad, all I had to do was a recital. I had all my other courses down, so they allowed me to take a couple of graduate courses early because I
That's
had
good.
finished everything else.
Right.
And then when I got into grad school the next year, I also had an assistantship teaching class piano, and of course working with the marching band.
Right. What was your favorite piece from your piano recital that you used for graduation?
Well, I think back, I love Debussy.
Yeah, who doesn't love Debussy?
Yeah, and I did a couple of Debussy pieces on my recital, and I don't remember exactly all the ones because it's been so long ago, but Debussy was always, anything Debussy was beautiful.
Yeah.
Hard to play, too.
Yeah, no joke. The little bit of piano I've taken, I learned to play some of Clair de Lune when I was in community college, but I could not get through the whole thing. Once you got to all those running arpeggios right after the beginning.
And I remember playing a Cacciatorian piece, maybe called Toccata, that was a lot of fun. It was hard. It was fast.
All right, Mike, so let's talk teaching after ASU. How quickly did you go into teaching once you graduated?
Well, once I graduated with my master's degree, fortunately, I got a call from a friend who used to work with Pearson Music out of Durham, which we think of now as the Music and Arts.
Yep.
And Jim White. And I had worked with Jim some in the judging area because I had judged quite a few marching band shows while I was in college. And so I'd met Jim, and Jim was with the music company, and he gives me a call in Boone one night and says, "Hey, Mike, there's this job in Sanford that's coming open. It's a junior high job, 7th, 8th, 9th, and it's at Eastleigh Junior High School. And there's only two junior highs there, East and West, and there's one high school in the county, Lee County High School." An interesting story about that, I had judged the Lee County High School band at a competition at Northwest Guilford in Greensboro a year or two earlier, and I remember seeing the Lee County band come out on the field and thinking to myself, now this is the honest truth, thinking to myself, that would be a cool place to be someday.
Right.
I don't know what it was. You know, I didn't know
What were you judging?
I was judging guard. I knew nothing about Sanford.
Yeah.
I didn't really know exactly where it was located in the state at the time, but I remember the band impressed me, and I thought, hey, that would be a cool place to be someday.
Yeah, they were still pretty. What were they? Still over 100 over there?
Yeah, they're a big band, 150 or more, 160.
Yeah, I remember those early days.
And so I ended up getting the job at Eastleigh.
Awesome. Who was your principal at Eastleigh?
My first principal was John Burwell. Dr. Burwell was there my first year or two, and then Gary Jackson became one of our principals.
Gary Jackson. I think he's been a principal everywhere in Lee County.
He's been everywhere.
Just about every administrative title he sat
he's
sat
still
down.
around.
Yep.
And then...
Who was at Wesley? Who was the band director there when you came in?
When I first came to Sanford, Camp Price was at West for half a day.
Yeah.
And then he came here to Lee County High School and assisted Mr. Murphy, Earl Murphy, with the high school program.
Gotcha.
After he became full-time here at the high school, then a friend of mine from back home, Kathy Weir.
Right.
I think.
Yep, she started me. Yep,
right.
She sure did.
Yeah, Kathy came down. She had been working in Alamance County, so she took the job here at West, and she was here with us for 3 or 4 years before moving back home to the Forest City area.
Yeah.
So she then after her, there's been.
Yeah, because Earl Murphy came to West right after her. That's what I remember. So him and Camp must have switched spots at some point.
And then Earl became a principal, and he was assistant principal at Edwards Elementary
That's right.
Until he retired.
All right, Mike. So what year did you start at Lee County High School?
I started the fall of '89. I moved over from East. School had already started, and Mr. Price took another position here in the county, and I applied for the job here. And fortunately, I was selected. And now they can't get rid of me.
That's right. We've been here ever since. Now, what was it like filling in someone else's shoes? Somebody that had a big program and everybody knew them. So what was that first year like of having to be the band director?
Well, there were pros and cons, which I think is any position that you take. The good thing was I already knew most of the high school students, and they knew me because I had assisted with the marching band on Tuesday and Thursday nights since I came here in the fall of '85. So I knew most every kid in the band program.
And you probably taught several of them at East Lee, too.
Right, exactly. And there were a couple of kids that were in the band program that didn't march. But they were like in a concert band or the stage band. So those were the only kids I didn't really know. And it wasn't that I knew them well, but a lot of them, as you said, because I had taught them at East, I had a lot of connections.
Yeah.
I guess the hardest thing about following someone is, as you feel like you're the new guy coming in.
Yeah.
And you don't want to change everything at once, but you want to make some changes that you would like. And and I heard this when I first came to East as well, but that's not how
so-and-so did it.
So-and-so did it. Yeah, that takes a year or two to.
It sure does.
Once that passes, then.
Now, did you notice a difference, say, in year, 5 or so after that initial group of kids had graduated out that had worked, that had marched under someone else, and then you had a group of kids that was all yours? Did you notice a difference?
I did. I wouldn't say it took that long.
It was a little faster.
Yeah, it was a little faster. But I know, especially like the first 2 years maybe here, those were, I would say, a little bit challenging for me, because I had never taught high school, except for assisting with the high school marching band. So I was giving it all, all the concert bands, wind ensemble, symphonic band.
Yeah, I was going to ask how many ensembles were here when you started.
We had wind ensemble, symphonic band, we had stage band, which is jazz ensemble, then there was marching band. So yeah, it was a challenging time, but I loved it, and things are great.
Yeah.
Program's small now, but they're still doing very well to be a small band.
It was year 5 when I was at Southern when things really started to click, and it was after the Lee County folks had gone through, and then that's when I noticed a big change, or at least the family started.
Right.
Family-ness of it all started to click together, was all of that. That's
exactly
why I asked that question, because I remember specifically how much more connected and family-oriented everyone was. And it was, you could see it in year 4, but year 5, it was definitely there.
And you were there how many years?
8.
8, that's what I was thinking.
5 was when it really clicked.
Well, yeah, when the program split, what was that, 2000?
I'm going to get,
we're going to get to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mike. So I was here during your first 4 years. What kind of stories do you remember about me? And I've got one that I want to tell.
I remember that Mr. Miller, Matt, he played trumpet for me, and French horn, and mellophone, marching band. I remember you playing trumpet and stage band.
I did in my last couple of years, junior and senior year, I did.
Yeah, and most everyone will remember the way it used to be. Stage band, you had to be a sophomore, junior, or senior to be in the stage band. A freshman couldn't be.
Right.
So
the freshmen were over at We were still in
that's
the,
right.
in
Still,
the junior highs
still at
then.
the junior high then.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what was the question?
I was asking what do you remember about me
Here.
being here the first
Well,
4 years?
you know, I can see you on the wall up there from
Yeah.
where I'm sitting right now. I can see your class. You were the class of 94.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, 94. That's quite a while ago.
It was a few years ago.
And, you know, I think of that class. That was a great class. There were a lot of, you know, great kids in that class. Most everyone that was in that class I've kept up with in some
Right.
way. Of course, Facebook has helped that in most cases. But a lot of those guys from your class and from all the classes they always come visit.
Yeah,
If they're at
that's
a
the great
ball
thing
game.
about marching game.
Yeah, you know, they come back and visit, and that's always a great feeling to see them. And I remember everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can look at them and think, all right, I know your name, but it's not coming to me.
I
But
do
know
that
your
quite a
face,
lot.
And I know you played this, and you sat here. And you graduated in this year because I can see you in the picture from down at the bottom of the room here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pictures on the walls here.
Yeah, and there are some years that aren't up, so, you know, there's a lot of kids. And these are just all the
Just
kids,
the graduating seniors.
you know, with the band being smaller these days, the kids that come in now, they think that's the whole band.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that was just the seniors.
Yeah, just the seniors.
You know.
And some of these pictures, the seniors are almost the same size as the bands are now.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
I remember my one story is my senior year. All I wanted was a solo. And I must have annoyed the snot out of you coming into your office about, is there a solo for a mellophone? I want to play solo. I want to play solo the whole year. And so I didn't get a solo, so I made it my mission to make sure a judge on a tape would say, that mellophone's playing too loud. And sure enough, one did. And one of my other friends that played with me, Brian BVA, gave me a high five. He's like, yeah, we did it. And I was like, oh, now as a former marching band director myself, I'm like, no, you don't want that.
What was our show your senior year?
I think that was the Gershwin show.
Oh, yes, right.
And, I remember we went up to an A flat above the staff, and I was like, man, I'm going to just blow the water out of that note when I get there. I did have a solo in wind ensemble in the spring, so I guess it worked out.
I think you had a solo in stage band too, didn't you?
Probably. We all had solos in stage band.
Splanky.
Oh, Splanky. How'd you remember that? I don't think I would have remembered that song.
You know, I haven't done that tune in a couple of years.
It's been
I
a long
love
time.
that tune. That's a good tune.
Yeah. Oh, and do you remember anything about our little crew my senior year in stage band? I remember that was the only time that I ever got written up.
Uh-oh.
Was in stage band. I don't know if you remembered.
Did you get one of those yellow?
One of those little
D-ball
yellow
slips.
Yep, you gave me and Nathan Williams and Brian Godfrey and Brian BVA. We all got little yellow slips.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were passing notes or something the whole time in class, and you didn't ask us to play at all for the whole class period. We didn't play once, and then we all got slips. And we saw Mr. Emerson, I think it was.
Yes.
Or maybe it was because we were playing cards. I don't remember. Could have been playing cards.
Yeah,
too.
I don't remember.
Another story. Do you remember the time when you came into the band room and the chairs and stands were all turned around backwards?
I do remember that. I do remember that.
We were wondering if we were going to get in any major trouble from that prank or not, but we thought it was great.
That was good. That was a good one. Could have been worse.
Yes, we didn't destroy anything. We just
could have been worse.
Set the room up backwards.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We wanted to move all the percussion. For those of you that don't know the Lee County High School band room, it's tiered, sort of like a pit. So you go down steps, and the director's at the bottom, and then instruments are on each different level as you step up. So all the drum equipment is on the very top. So we were thinking about flipping the room, and we were going to put the drum equipment on the bottom, but that seemed to be too much work for our 16 and 17-year-olds. But, yeah, that was quite fun. We thought so. Then there's always the infamous Disney trip of '93.
Oh,
Tell me you remember that one.
Yes, the Disney trip of '93 was my first. Well, it was my second Disney trip. I had gone in '87 with the high school band, but I was just
Right.
an assistant then. Then in '90, my first trip was to Canada, which was already planned by the directors at the
Right.
time, Mr. Murphy and Mr.
Yeah, that was
Price.
a year before me.
So I inherited that trip, and so after the Canada trip, I'm like, we're going to go back to Disney. There's just so much more to do. Keep the
Yep.
kids occupied.
Right.
Well, yes.
We thought we had ruined
thought
Disney. Not me or my friends, but there was a couple of people.
Yeah, we had a couple of people. Yeah, they came home early, so I'm sure everybody remembers that was in the band.
As I look back on it as being a band director myself, the sheer terror that would have gone through my mind walking through an amusement park and you hear, well, in your time you hear it, Mr. Wilkins, please report to the, but if I heard my name and my group was there, I'd be like, oh no, that would have, everybody back home, we're done. Oh my goodness.
I think everybody that was on that trip will remember that experience.
And you've got a good story to tell your other kids when they go on band trips. Because look, we did this right here.
Right.
Yep.
This happened.
Yep. I'm sure those students will never forget having to go home early.
Oh, no, they won't.
So, so the high school split in 2005. We got a brand new high school in Lee County. We got Southern Lee High School, which I started at as its first band director. What was going from a large band of over 100 or so to being split in half and your numbers dropping to into the 60s or 70s for the first time in your whole career? What was it like to have a smaller group?
Well, the first year, if you remember, they left the rising seniors at Lee County High School. So I think I still had 90-some kids in the band that year, which was a decent size.
We're a good size group,
good
yes.
size. Then after that year, the band, started getting smaller. We were in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s this past year. So, a smaller band, of course, is easier to manage. A lot of things.
Less bus drivers.
Less bus drivers.
Those are
less
precious to find, yep.
A lot of things you could do, of course, with a larger band you can't do with a small band. But
Right.
actually, a small band can pull off a lot of things that you maybe would think they couldn't.
Right.
So,
Well, if you have enough trumpets, then
Yeah.
you can do quite a lot if you got enough trumpets.
you've got a good little horn line, then and a tight drum line, then there's a lot you can do. So,
And you've been blessed with having really good staff.
yes, I
You've
have.
had a couple of years, you had a really good staff, people helping out. A lot of former students coming back and instructing too. And that says a lot about you, is the sheer number of students that come back to help.
I remember you coming back and helping some.
I helped
While
for a
you were in
year.
college, yeah.
I went to Western Carolina and then I wasn't doing music. Well, I was marching there, but I wasn't a music major. But I didn't care for the school, and I came back and did community college, and I helped out here because I thought about doing band directing. And so I was like, well, let me help out here and see what I think.
I remember. Oh, yeah, I've been blessed with good staff.
Yeah.
And a lot of the staff has been former members. Currently, I have 2 young folks that are former students that are working with us. So, yeah, it's a blessing to have folks
Yes.
come back,
So other than having a tradition of a great band here for so many years, there's also been a tradition of a great marching band competition here. The Brick Capital Classic has been a staple in North Carolina for a very long time. How many years has Brick Capital been around?
I believe we're getting ready to host the 43rd.
43rd. That's a long time for a marching band competition.
Yeah, it's a long time. I believe they started it in 80, I believe. My first one, of course, was 85, the fall of 85, my first fall down here. But I believe they started 80 or 81.
Right.
So back then,
Which band director would have started that? Do you know?
Mr. Murphy and Mr. Price together.
Gotcha. They were
started.
together.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That was after Mr. Price had been pretty much he was here half-time, part-time, and he did a lot of writing of the shows. So they got real into the marching scene and decided to host a contest. There weren't many contests at the time.
I wouldn't think there'd be a tremendous lot of contests at the time, which made Brick Capital Classic unique.
Yeah, but nowadays,
you've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 every weekend that you can go to.
Yeah, exactly. And bands tend to go to contests that are closer home, which makes sense because if you're having to pay for bus drivers, if you're having to pay gas for buses, so it makes sense to go closer to home. Brick Capital, the past year was smaller than usual. Of course, we were coming back from COVID.
We're going to talk about COVID effects here in a little bit too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 43rd, that's quite a long time. What is the largest number of bands you've had at Brick Capital?
Well, those early years, they were up to 30 sometime. Late,
that's a lot.
25, 26, 7, 8. About 10 years ago, I would say, it was the year that they were doing a lot of renovation here on campus.
Yeah.
The year before they built this newest building, the administration building, was probably the last large one we had, and I believe we had 25 or 26 bands that year. Since then, we haven't had that number. We've had decent numbers. We've had 19, 20, 15, 16.
Right.
So hopefully this coming year we'll have some more bands. It's always nice to get some that have not been before.
Yeah.
But it's nice when you have those that come back.
So what are some of the bands that traditionally you can expect to see at Brick Capital most years?
Traditionally, you usually expect to see Union Pines.
Yep.
They have probably been coming to Brick Capital more than any other band. I do know of one year they missed. They did not come here. That was early on when I was here. But usually you will see them here. Of course, Southern, they're here every year.
Yep.
Southern Lee now. We used to get Bluestone High School out of Skipworth, Virginia,
right,
as you remember. They came every year for probably 14, 15 years.
Right.
That school no longer exists.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they demolished it.
Yeah.
And they built a new school for the county, Mecklenburg County, Virginia High School.
Gotcha.
And but then a couple of the other bands we get Pinecrest. They've been coming a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think closer by right now. Years we would get Northwood for years.
Yeah.
Haven't had them in a while. But when it comes to our show, there's at least 6 more shows the same day as ours.
Yes, I was going to say the number of shows you can go to on a weekend, there is really quite a lot. That's right. High schools use it as a fundraiser, right?
Right, a fundraiser. And traditionally, we have always been the last Saturday in October.
Yeah.
If there are 5 Saturdays. But if there are only 4 Saturdays in October, then that would put us the next weekend, which is the first weekend of November. So this year it's November 4th.
Gotcha.
And Cary.
I was going to say, Cary is normally the same day as
They're
Brick
the
Capital,
same
too.
day. Now, they actually have maybe the oldest contest in the state.
I thought besides you, they were the only high school that has been going this steady without taking any breaks.
And they, being the same day as Brick Capital, a lot of the Wake County bands
and
feel
there's a crowd of them too.
Feel obligated to go to Cary. So in the past, I would say 5, 6, 7 years, we haven't had as many bands from the Wake County area as we used to.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another competition in Wake County that same day too.
Exactly.
Because there's so many bands to go around.
Exactly.
I think we looked up one day how many high schools were in Wake County, and there's like 33. That's
amazing.
You could easily do 2 or 3 competitions in there and it'd be just fine. It's so many. What are some of the memorable performances at Brick Capital that you remember?
Well, a lot of people will remember Brick Capital used to be known for the rain.
Yes. There has been some rainy events, that's for sure.
We had a couple of years where, the day before, the night before, like it would just pour all night long, and then the next day would still be misting rain or raining a little soggy.
Yes.
We have one year we had the show where it became a joke how many shoes were going to be out on the field.
I remember
after the band came off the field.
when I brought Southern over, one of my kids was marched back and said, "Mr. Miller, my shoe came off in the field and I never found it."
Exactly. So we, as a joke, we decided, hey, we should give an award for who lost the most shoes.
Right.
And actually, I remember the band that actually lost the most shoes that day. I believe it was Eastern Alamance High School.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yes.
So, yeah, but, Brick Capital has been known for its organization, mostly.
I was going to say, you guys are a well-oiled machine over here, that's for sure.
People come, and I tell my kids this every year as we're getting ready to host, and as the kids are going to serve as band guides.
Yep.
And, people talk about how much they like coming here because we're so organized, you're friendly, you're helpful. Yep. And they feel like, it's just a good contest overall. And, of course, our stadium. You don't see high school stadiums like this.
You don't see high school stadiums like this anymore.
You get a great view.
It's rather large for your most high schools.
Mm-hmm. It's a great view for the home side. And even from the visitor side, if you're sitting over there, you still can see very well.
And as band director goes, you're what is the food area called again?
Concessions?
Oh, yeah, the concession tent for the band director. Hospitality tent for the band directors. You are also known for having wonderful one of those, because I will tell you, band directors, when they think about going someplace, they're like, if the food was bad, they're like, I don't know if I'm going to go back. But if they had a great hospitality tent,
yeah, people tell us, I can't wait to come to your place for the food.
Yes.
Because we are known for our hospitality tent for the directors. And we have it set up in a great location just outside of the actual field, so you can still see the shows going on. You
can still view what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's great. So you've had, or having Brick Capital over the years, you've got to go through a lot of judges that judge each category. What categories are marching bands judged in?
Marching bands are judged in music, obviously. They're judged in marching and general effect. And general effect is the overall picture, the overall presentation. Those are the three main categories. And then you have special judges for color guard, percussion, and drum major.
Well, I know somebody sitting right next to you. If you ever need a judge, he would be he'd love to judge.
And he's just across town.
Just across town, that's right. I'd probably do it just for the hospitality tent, too.
Yeah, we feed the judges all day long. So, hey, if you're in the box judging, you're going to be well taken care of.
All right, Mike. So now we're going to get to some fun favorite questions here. What's been your favorite marching show over your 34 years, I think?
Wow, that's a really tough question.
Or let's say, what's one of your favorites?
Well, I will say that I know a question you probably are going to ask later is, have I ever repeated a show, maybe?
Yep. I don't think you have.
Well, I've won.
One?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. It's called Mangione Magic.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was 2000 and the class of 2008, maybe. So that would have been the fall of 7. Yes, it was the fall of 2007. That was our show, Mangione Magic, and was the music of Chuck Mangione.
Yep.
And it was a very successful show. It was a lot of fun. The Latin feel was great,
Yep.
Kids really got into it. And then 3 years ago, I decided to repeat it.
Right.
The band was smaller, but I thought, hey, let's try it. And we had a lot of success with it that year as well. So that's the only show I've ever repeated. That's one of my favorite shows, obviously, because I repeated it. But, yeah, there's been so many over the years. I look around at the pictures to think the shows we have done. Did a West Side Story.
Yep, West Side Story.
Yeah, those were – I think I've done 2 West Side Story shows, but they were completely different. The music was completely different. A year or 2 after you graduated, Matt, I believe we did a Chicago.
Yeah, no, that was the year that I helped with.
Oh, that's
right. That was the
okay.
Chicago year, yeah. Because I remember asking, I was like, why didn't we do Chicago when I was here?
Yeah. Chicago as in the rock group.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, as in the rock group, that's for sure. I don't know if you'll answer this question. Who's been your best drum major?
Oh, well, I will say I think Lee County has always been known for pretty good drum majors.
Yep. Yes, they have been. And you're always good about sending them to camp each summer, too.
Yeah, I send them to a camp I think they will get a lot of experience from.
Yeah.
But over the many, many years, I couldn't really pick one that I would say was the best or my favorite. There've been so many good ones. I've had 3 drum majors
right.
at a
You
time.
guys used to be
I've
big
had
enough for
2.
3.
I've had 1. So, all combinations there. I know I've sat down before, and I've taken every year since I came to Lee County and wrote down the year and who the drum majors were.
Right.
I just do that to try to keep my mind fresh, see if I can remember. A lot of times I have to look at the picture and say, oh, yeah, it was her, or it was him. But most of the time I can remember.
Yeah, we all know you're talking about Michelle Bright, though.
Michelle Bright.
That was my drum major my senior year.
And can we add, she was also the homecoming queen.
Yes, she was. Oh, she had the largest. When she won, I was like, yeah, I know every member of the marching band probably voted for her.
Yes.
Yep.
I think since I had been here at Lee County, she was the first marching band member to become homecoming queen.
Right.
Since then, I've had another young lady become homecoming queen, but she was not representing the marching band.
Right. Yeah, they changed how they did that, I think.
I don't know if you remember, but the night of homecoming, Michelle's year, the homecoming committee came to me and said, Mr. Wilkins, we're going to let the band march before.
I remember us being on the field.
Because we always marched after the crowning of the queen.
Yeah.
But we're going to let the band march first. And I was like, oh. And she whispered to me, your drum major is.
So you already knew.
Yeah. So.
She's already going to be up there.
Yeah, she's going to be up there. So we got to march our show, Michelle conducting. And then the homecoming court, and Michelle was crowned.
Yeah, I just remember, I think most everybody there, at least I know my group of seniors, we all wanted to make her proud when we were marching. We didn't want to do anything to make Michelle upset because she'd give you that look like you didn't want to disappoint her at all. And then my freshman year, I remember the drill sergeant, Eleanor, it's like, oh, she was too scary to make mad.
Yes, Eleanor Kiles.
At least as a freshman, I remember, she's scary. I'm sure she's a lovely person, but I just remember as a freshman, she scared me.
She was a tiny thing.
Yeah, as I think that characteristic goes with a lot of people. Who was your best section leader?
My best section leader, of course, it was Matt Miller.
I was about to say.
Matt Miller, mellophone, section leader, of course, my best section leader ever.
I wondered if you'd say that.
Had a lot of good section leaders as well.
What's a favorite competition to go to over the years?
Well, I will tell you, the kids love going to Union Pines.
Yeah.
It is a good competition. I don't know the kids. I mean, if I said we're not going to Union Pines, they would be so disappointed.
Yeah.
Their other favorite, used to be their other favorite competition was Bluestone because it was a 3-hour bus ride.
You got to travel.
You have to travel, and I think they really loved going up there. And we saw bands up there we never see.
Yeah, that's a good point for Bluestone. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those 2 competitions are probably the favorites ever.
Yeah.
Of the band kids.
So how do you come up with a marching band show? What do you do to find music and drill and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I kind of think about it all year, about what I'm going to do next year. A lot of these guys, once they finish their show in October, November for the fall season, they already know what they're going to do next year. I don't ever decide that soon. I need some time to wind down a little, and get
especially
ready.
with a band that's smaller in size, you can do that a little bit.
And go into concert season and feel a little more relaxed with things and not as pressured or continually rushed as you are during marching season.
Right.
And then spring, I start thinking about it. Well, actually, before spring, I start thinking about it. And then late spring, I usually come up with a plan. I have to think about what size the band's going to be, what our instrumentation is going to be. Can the band handle this music?
Right.
This music? I look at all things, and a lot of times I have to think, this may be a bit hard, but I need to challenge them. Because we know a marching season can get boring for kids.
If it's too easy.
Right, if it's too easy.
You got to make it difficult.
So I'm going to try to challenge each year, and hopefully it works out well.
Now, do you have a drill writer, or how do people get drill and arrangements?
Well, I've done it both ways. I've hired someone to write drill in the past. We've hired someone and to arrange music, or I would go with what I guess we call stock charts.
Right.
And that's what we've done the past couple of years, and had a lot of success with the smaller band using those kinds of charts.
Yeah, I was going to say there's quite a lot of those. I always called it a show in a box for the smaller bands. There's some very successful ones you can do.
If you have a larger band, then it's easier probably
to get it customized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
But then the cost is way more.
Yes, it is. It is a lot more. How much staff does it take to run a marching band?
Well, of course,
a good competitive marching band.
Like in our situation, you've got, of course, the director, head director, and then I have Miss Flowers, Maggie Flowers from Eastleigh Middle School. Maggie has been assisting with the marching band ever since she came to Lee County.
I know.
So it's nice to have her come over on the extra rehearsal nights.
Yeah.
And she's with us on Friday nights, and she's with us on Saturdays for competition. So it's always nice to have another director, And then, of course, I have a color guard instructor, have a percussion instructor. Occasionally, I'll have someone else come in and work marching, work music. I have a former student who is a student at UNC Charlotte majoring in music education, and he comes in a lot and works with us. And I have him do a little bit of everything, because he's going to be a band director when he finishes school. So this is a good
real-world experience.
Right, this is great experience for him. So yeah, for us, that's about the staff. A lot
plus
of
the
bands
student staff too.
Right.
You got to have a good drum major. You got to have good section leaders.
Exactly.
Sometimes
leadership, student leadership.
Yeah, some of the most important roles to fill. All right, and your last question, what is your show for next year?
My last question.
He's notorious for never telling anyone that answer until the day they show up to band camp.
I usually don't give this answer until the first day of band camp.
I would say that's all I always remember. It's like, what are we doing next year? Oh, I haven't thought about it yet. I was like, what do you mean band camp's next week?
Well, band camp is early this year. It is July 24th. That's 18 days from now, right?
That's not too far away. Nope.
With school starting earlier, band camp starts earlier. So, yeah, band camp starts earlier, and you should show up the first day of band camp to find out what the show's going to be.
We'll leave it a secret. Come July 24th right here into
there
Lee
we
County
go.
High School Band Room.
And if you can't do that, come to one of the ball games that'll be coming up in the fall and see the band. And, of course, you want to come out to Brick Capitol.
Yes.
I'd love to see all the former students that could come out.
My wife and I, we really enjoyed bringing our kids out. I think it was, I forget what anniversary it was. Maybe it was the 40th or 35th. I forget. It had to have been maybe. No, it was somewhere to a big anniversary like that you guys hit. And that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've had quite a few anniversaries, it seems like.
Right.
And can we mention that you met your wife in the band?
Yeah. She probably would have been mad. Yeah. My wife, we were both here at Lee County High School, and we were high school sweethearts. And, and the rest is marching band history.
Exactly. And 3 beautiful kids to show for it, right?
Yep. Two of which marched over at Southern Lee High School. They were so upset that I didn't get to be their marching band director that I left there before they had a chance to come up. All right, Mike, I'm going to ask you 6 kind of rapid-fire questions.
Okay, so then I have a question I need to ask you.
Okay.
Should I ask you first?
Yeah, ask me first.
How many couples do you think have come out of the band program?
Oh, my goodness.
Ended up marrying?
That ended up marrying?
Since let's just say since I've been here, which
I
is
don't know.
1989, 90.
All right, 34 years. I don't know, maybe a dozen?
Yeah, at least.
Maybe a dozen. I'm trying. Well, I mean, I only know of my 4 years, and so I do know of several, but I don't know about getting married.
That's another one of the things I need to sit down and figure out someday.
Yeah. Now, how many kids, before I ask you the rapid fire, how many former students have you had whose kids have come through?
Quite a few now.
Yeah.
I do remember the first time I had a student come through that I had taught their parent, and their parent had been a color guard member, and that seems like a long time ago now.
Right.
I've told myself when I start teaching grandchildren, then I taught your grandparent.
Right. Oh, no.
Then it's time for me to
All right.
retire.
And when I start seeing grandkids.
Right.
Yep, that's been a minute. All right, Mike, 6 quick questions. What has been the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?
The most beautiful thing I've ever seen? The most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen was a beautiful sunset on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and the silence that came with
Right, the quiet.
was amazing.
All teachers love silence.
And exactly. And of course, the sunset at the coast is beautiful as well. So, nature, anything nature is beautiful.
What's your favorite smell?
My favorite smell.
Or a favorite
Oh,
smell?
I love the smell of fresh brewed coffee.
Yes. Yeah, especially when you didn't make it. If you're somewhere and you come in, you can smell the coffee.
Exactly.
Yes. What's your favorite sandwich?
My favorite sandwich. Ugh, that's a tough one. But, I'm pretty basic. I love a good burger.
Right.
Just a great burger.
What's your favorite drink?
Favorite drink. I'm a Coke kind of guy.
Right.
I drink a Coke every day.
What makes you happy every time it happens?
What makes me happy every time it happens is when I see a former student and they talk about how much band meant to them.
Right.
That's probably one of the best feelings I have ever had.
That trumps I thought you were going to say when we get a superior.
Yeah, that's nice too. But yeah, when the students come back, and you know how it is, and they talk about how much band meant to them.
Right.
And it was the best part of their high school.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
It sure does. What advice would you give your kid self, if you could give?
My kid?
Little Michael Wilkins, yeah. Little 12-year-old Michael Wilkins.
I would give myself the advice to practice more.
That's what I would tell myself, too.
Because I could have done so much more had I practiced more at an earlier age. And to just follow my dream. I mean, I kind of did that,
right.
But you know what just keep following your dream.
If you had to nominate someone to be on this podcast, who do you think would be a good choice?
Someone local or?
Doesn't have to be local at all. I just interviewed someone from Tennessee the other day.
Oh, that's cool. There are a lot of former educators here, like Karen Huey. She taught orchestra for years.
Yeah.
She would be great.
Yeah.
She knows so many people.
Yeah.
She has so many stories.
I can ask her today. My daughter's going to go take a cello lesson
There
from
we
her.
go, then. Just sign her up.
There, you're on the block, Karen, if you listen to this.
And I think you have a former student of mine coming up in a podcast maybe in the near future.
Mm-hmm. We are working on that right now.
Great.
Well, Mike, thanks for being on the show. If you want to meet Michael Wilkins in real life, just come to a football game at Lee County High School or the Brick Capital Classic on November 4th. Yes. What you said.
November 4th.
All right.
Go Jackets.
Remember, folks, find what makes you happy and do it. There's a lot of life out there to love. Take time to enjoy it. Everybody have a good week.